before we get to today's deck, I just wanted to showcase something interesting, or tragic, depending on how you look at it. Puzzle box here for the Reno Mage. So far, relatively inoffensive. Famous chosen on my minion would have been nice, but fine. Sure, find some demons. That's a problem. That's a problem. And that's disgusting. The Stormbringer. So in response to the Stormbringer, I played Yogg. Bow down before the god of death. Can he live up to his name here and clear the board? God of death, go on, you can do it. I believe in you. No. Okay, he's trying to clear the board. Oh, he's making a bit more progress. Another minion down. Excellent. That's not good. More on that later. Another minion. Dead. Healing would have been nice, Yogg, honestly. Can we clear the board here, Yogg? Divine Shield and Taunt. I like it. And we clear the board. However, we still lost the game because our hero power was replaced by Shadow Form. We couldn't armor up. He had the Pyroblast, and several turns later we just died. This is a lesson for everyone. Yogg is great. Praise Yogg if he can clear a board, but just hope he doesn't give you bloody Shadow Form. Rant over. Okay, today's deck. We are revisiting Beardyman's Murloc Paladin on the Wild Mode ladder. A few days ago, you saw me play this deck, and it worked very well on the ladder. And I was speaking to Beardyman, and I asked him for a bit more guidance on how to play the deck. Because on the surface, you just see Murlocs, and you think, oh yeah, play all the Murlocs, win the game. There are intricacies to this deck, and Beardyman has been gracious enough to give me some hints and tips on how to play this deck more effectively. So if you are interested in playing this deck, it's well worth watching the next few minutes of this video, because Beardyman is going to tell us what to do. So, tip number 1, learn your matchups and remember them. Take notes if you need to. You can lose with a bad mulligan. This applies really to any Hearthstone deck that you play. But remember, the meta is infested with mages and warlocks, other tier 1 decks. You need every bit of help you can get. So, you know, if taking notes helps, do it. If learning your matchups is going to help you win, absolutely do it. Do everything you can to help yourself win. Tip number 2, if you're facing a control deck, you need a quick start. Let me rephrase that. You need a very quick start. And he says, find Prismatic Lens and a turn 1 and a turn 2 play. So, for example, Valfin Inquisitor on 1, or a Tidecaller into a turn 2 Tasty Flyfish. So a 1-cost minion into a 2-cost, play a 3, and then Lens on 4, or coin Lens on 3. Lens being very important. Tip 3. In a mage or warlock meta, keep Coldlight Seer, because mages and warlocks, they have defiles, they have flame wards, they have cheap spells that can kill your murlocs. Coldlight Seer can buff the health of those murlocs, hopefully keep them alive for just a little bit longer, because once your early board of murlocs is gone and you lose that pressure, then you're in a lot of trouble, and against some control decks, it can just be an auto loss from that point on. So do everything you can to keep those Murlocs alive. Tip number 4, Nozdormu the Timeless and Tip the Scales combo. He says it can be a win condition against aggro, because remember, Nozdormu will give everyone 10 mana crystals. If you then have Tip the Scales in your hand the following turn, it can help you take back control of the board, flooding it with Murlocs if aggro had overtaken you on the previous turn. He says it's still good to coin out Nozdormu the Timeless on 3 against control decks, but it is a gamble. Because they could have high cost cards in their hands. If you give them 10 mana on their following turn, they could play Ultimate Infestation, for example, which could be absolutely devastating. You've just got to hope that they threw away their high cost cards in the mulligan and just don't have it to hand. Continuing on from tip number 4, and we're putting this in red because it's important. Beardyman says, never play Nozdormu versus control if you can't do anything with the 10 mana next turn. So if you play Nozdormu on 4, but you don't have Tip the Scales, for example, or something really productive to do with that mana, there's no point. If all you're doing is playing 1 or 2 cheap Murlocs, it's an absolute waste. So yes, you need to be able to utilise that 10 mana that Nozdormu has given you, because no doubt your opponent will try to utilise it. Tip number 5, Skyfin is great value, he says. But he says bait out the board clears and do some trades before using Skyfin. Skyfin puts Murlocs on the board, and that is your refill for getting yourself back onto the board and taking back control of the game. Okay, don't use Skyfin if you're already ahead on board, because if you play Skyfin and then everything gets cleared, you've got nothing to refill the board with. I think that's what Beardyman is trying to say. Bonus tip. We are a Highlander deck. I mentioned this in the previous video. You will draw through your Murlocs very, very quickly. And once that happens, we are a Highlander deck, essentially. So that is when your Zephyrus becomes handy. That is when Dragon Queen Alexstrasza becomes handy. So Beardyman says, let's get there as quickly as we can. Hard mulligan for Prismatic Lens being a key in most matchups to then get your Tip Scales and lessen its cost. Draw through that deck ever so quickly. If you do that, you increase your chance of winning the game. Further to that, Zephyrus is not to be underestimated in this deck. If you're facing a Q block with lots of taunts, Master Spell, massive help, Savage Roar, finding you lethal, and do not underestimate Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, because on average you're going to get 2 decent to high value dragons. Okay, I think that's what usually happens with her, and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza can just win you the game based on what she gives you. So if the Murlocs all die and you're in those late stages of the game and you just need a final push, she can give you that final push. Okay, so worth noting. So thanks to Beardyman for these tips, incredibly useful. So, this is a mage meta, unfortunately. And I was getting absolutely thrashed by mages. I was at Diamond rank 3, just got obliterated 5 or 6 games in a row by mages just going crazy on my face with giants. And I'd been playing, what had I been playing? I'd been playing a mixture of decks. I'd been playing Jade Druid. I'd been playing various control decks that were too slow. Reno Lock was too slow for me. So I needed something fast. Fast and furious. And so I went to Beardyman for help, and we're now playing this deck. So, is that Flame Ward? Is the question. Yep. Thankfully, we didn't overcommit before triggering. So we're quite fortunate here. He didn't get anywhere near as much value as he could have got on that Flame Ward. Okay, so thinking ahead now. Oh, wow. Frostbolt. Interesting. Oh, okay. Well, that's a massive, massive commitment to the board. 2 spells to clear. And you hate to see that. You absolutely hate to see that. On a positive note, though, we'll play that next turn. We'll play the lens next turn, maybe, and we will hit tip the scales, for sure. But a bit of a delay by a turn or so. Meanwhile, there isn't much going on his side of the board or in his hand. He doesn't have much in the way of resources. So, okay, another delay. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. If we'd drawn a 3-cost switch, then we could have coined out tip the scales this turn. So do you know what? I'm going to take things nice and slow.
By the power of Ragnaros, I have the
Okay. That's a good board. That's a good board. How does he deal with this? What AoE do you have? You've used your Flame Ward. And you're a Highlander deck, so... What do you have on turn 7? Do you have a Flame Strike? Do you have a Blizzard? And what's interesting is next turn, look at our hand. We have options. We have lots of options here. We could give our Murlocs Divine Shield. We have Mega Saw. Okay. It's a second Volcanic Potion, and he concedes. Get wrecked. All the AoE in the world still got wrecked. Okay. Final game in the Mage meta. I'm not entirely sure what has happened again to my deck tracker.
Your wish is my suggestion.
Zephyrus. Oh wow. Do you know what? That's actually a really good use of Zephyrus, I think. He got rid of the Tidecaller. So that's going to stop me snowballing. I think that's a good play. Okay. Let's go for it. Nozdormu. Why did I play that? Well, I have...
Marvelous.
Yes, marvellous indeed. I have the lens in hand. I can play it next turn. And then, hopefully, I'll be able to play Tip the Scales as well on the same turn. So, going back to Beardyman's tips, we have something to do on the next turn. Okay. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. The drawback with Nozdormu, as we explained before, is that, oh hello, is that you give them 10 mana. Okay. This has worked out incredibly well. Now, I did not play the lens. Instead, I chose to play the Prime. Oh god. And I did it for the Divine Shields. I did it to get Divine Shielded Murlocs that I can that can be protected from AoE. But now he's used Reno, we can go all in would tip the scales. And that's 10 to the face. Thankfully we have a War Leader on board. That is amplifying our damage. Really, really helpful here. Without the War Leader, the Murloc's attacks can seem a little bit weak. And we have Murkai as well. 10 attack is insane. Yeah. Good freeze target. And will that be it for this turn? Because we still have a lot of damage on this board. Another freeze target? Okay. And we have slightly less damage we can do with those two frozen. We also cannot kill off a Murloc. It would have been nice to kill something off so we could Megasaur or Oracle. It's a lot of damage though still. And I'm gonna trade. Okay, got some board space now. I suspect the War Leader is dying, for sure. Although his health is incredibly low. And he hasn't been able to complete the quest. Okay, Polymorph. Right, so attack power of our Murlocs reducing dramatically here. That's more than likely Ice Block, so we can get his health right down. We can pop the block, but we're not killing him.
Thought I had more time.
Interesting. So, not lethal on the board now. So I think we have to we'll test out that secret. It's fine. I think we have to consider the Megasaur here. So double health buff. I think it has to be +1/+1. Just so we can pop the block this turn. Bit awkward with popping him. Can't really put him to 1 here. So I'm going to put him to 4. I think that's fine. And I want to make a trade. Oh god. that is disgusting. Reno has just given him a board full of taunts. Wow. You don't see that every day. Very fortunate for him. Because...
If I could just cast
Can
that.
I kill him if I get through the taunts? How many are there? 6 of them. He's going to trade. He's going to kill off. He's going to kill off the Megasaur. I only have 6 minions on the board though, so I can't reach his face.
Good explorer.
So maybe a dragon can help us here. Snap pick. Dragon Queen Alex Strasser. I think we do the Divine Shield after trading. Alright. This is far more powerful. So, we are protecting our board against AoE, and we have backup in our hand with Dragon Queen Alex Strasser if the Murlocs all die. But I just, yeah,
You've got
getting through Divine Shielded Murlocs,
met.
really tough. Okay. After this game was over, I made friends with my opponent. And actually at the end there, I kind of emoted him with a well met, because I do that now whenever I beat a Quest Mage, just because it's so hard to beat them. So when you do it, it's a big accomplishment. Yeah, it's a little bit toxic, and I kind of regret it now, because my opponent is a really nice guy, and we had a nice little chat there, as you can see, a nice little conversation. You know, no harsh words exchanged, a perfectly polite conversation where we both seem to respect one another, and that is what I think Hearthstone should be all about. So I've learned a lesson from this conversation, and the lesson I've learned is that I'm going to be nicer to people. I'm not going to emote opponents who play strong decks, because do you know what? That's their choice to play a strong deck. Yes, Mage is ridiculous at the moment. Yes, it's overpowered. Yes, winning games with quest completion and giants on turn 6 to 8 is ridiculous and disgusting. But that's not the fault of the player. That is how Blizzard has chosen to design things and to run things. That is not the fault of the people who play the decks. People should be free to play whatever decks they want, right? And I think we need to respect people for the choices they make with their decks. So if you want to play a powerful deck, play a powerful deck. So yes, respect to my opponent for playing Quest Mage. In this instance, Beardyman's deck was able to overwhelm him, and we were able to get that win. So actually, showcasing the strength of Murloc Paladin with its ability to swarm the board, with its ability to protect the Murlocs, and the inability, in this case, of the Quest Mage to keep up with those Murlocs. So it balanced out quite nicely. But yes, Beardyman's Murloc Paladin, what can I say? Fantastic deck. I am getting slightly better at playing the deck now that I'm trying to follow some of Beardyman's guidance. If you guys have questions about the deck, then by all means, please leave those questions in the comments section below. Utilise the mind of Beardyman, because the dude is seriously super smart when it comes to playing what I call effective off-meta decks, and he ensures that these decks win. So, you know, if you've got questions, please do ask them in the comments section below. So over the last few days, I've been publishing lots of videos, a video a day since last Thursday, because I've had a few days off work because of the Easter break. I'm now going back to work, so my video publishing schedule will go back to normal, unfortunately, which will be 1 or 2 videos each weekend. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the large amount of content that I have produced over the last few days. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I hope you guys have found the videos enjoyable and useful. So, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. A big thank you to Beardyman. And hey, a big thank you to my mage opponent there for giving me what was a great game, and a very enjoyable game at that. And yeah, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please look after yourselves as the COVID-19 crisis continues. Please stay safe. And I will see you all again very soon, as always, for more One Mode Fun.